Welcome aboard Clint Cronin Show, episode number 10,000,002. Aaron Ryan, Nerd Kwando podcast from Checkmat Black Belt Jiu Jitsu fame, infamy fame. We're in the house. We're here to talk about some big things a lot of people are already talking about, and some things you haven't heard yet. So stay tuned. It's going to be a lot of fun. It's an awesome week. We're in the middle of the summer right now, coming off of some big blockbusters.
Ooh, some big ones.
Everything from Spiderman Homecoming to the
Wonder Woman,
yes. War of the Planet of the Apes. Comic-Con's right here, right? So I just saw the Planet of the Apes movie. That's fresh on my mind. Have you seen it yet?
No, I'm actually going to go see it tomorrow.
Okay. I won't spoil anything yet. But then again, it's almost like the last of the first, I want to say the second trilogy of Star Wars movies, but the prequel trilogy, you already know what's going to happen in Star Wars. It's just kind of how they get there.
Right.
And if you haven't seen Planet of the Apes yet, it's kind of like, you know what's going to happen, but it's how they arrive at it. And there's some stuff I like. There's some things I didn't like. I like that when the apes talked, it actually looks right. The mouths move correctly, and the CG is pretty cool.
Yes.
As opposed to the original, where it just looks like one of those,
animatronic kind of puppet, with the little lower mouth moving. I think they did a really good job with the stop motion in that movie, and the actors. I mean, we are going to see the guy who did that movie take on the Batman. Matt Reeves, who directed that movie,
that's who it is.
Taking on. Yes, he's the one who's going to be directing the Batman trilogy, confirmed trilogy, guys. So I'm excited to see what because I mean, he took what he did with the Apes franchise. He took a pre-existing franchise and he made it better. That second movie was so dang good, and then what he was able to do with War. And I haven't seen it yet, like I said, but everything I'm seeing and hearing from so far, he's nailing it. And if this guy is going to take on the Batman in conjunction with Ben Affleck, you got 2 thumbs up from this guy.
I'm wondering how on board Ben Affleck's going to be. I mean,
I think he's going to be more on board than people think. There's been a lot of conflicting. I've been following that part very, very closely with like a fine-tooth comb, man, the DC side of everything. And from what I'm seeing, the resurgence of DC after what happened with Wonder Woman, which if you guys have not seen Wonder Woman, I don't know what you're doing. And if you're talking smack about DC movies, you go and see that movie and it's pretty much lifted. That movie just did it in the way that it needed to. Not the greatest of all time, but a good one. And what we're going to see from DC out of Comic-Con is going to be surely exciting. I made a reference in my last Nerd Kwando video on YouTube that I think this year, Marvel, the reason why they actually didn't release what they did with Infinity War at D23, they want it to be such a big bang at Comic-Con that when it hits, because DC for the first time is coming with their Avengers, they have Joss Whedon now. They don't have Zack Snyder. It's a whole different lineup over there. They have a whole different plan. As a matter of fact, they're going to be announcing new movies in a different format than pretty much everything they've announced before is gone. So it's going to be really cool. And so what I'm seeing is DC is going to be coming with some pretty fresh stuff. And we're going to see some footage from a trailer from Justice League confirmed and some footage from Aquaman, which is going to be.
I've heard about the Aquaman stuff. Some of the I guess tension that you heard earlier on, there was a lot of sort of flack for Zack Snyder's tone, Man of Steel, going through Batman v Superman. And one of the things was Grant Gustin was he was very vocal about not being cast as the Flash as opposed to Ezra Miller. Mm-hmm. And the Zack Snyder side of things was, well, Grant Gustin didn't fit the tone of what he was wanting to do for the larger DC expanded universe. But then you have Joss Whedon, and I'm wondering if it was Joss Whedon the entire time, given the way he did Avengers, given how he handles ensemble cast, if he wouldn't have looked at what they were doing in the CW verse and said, no, Grant Gustin's perfect for this, and then push to bring those other heroes in. And
I don't disagree. What I think is going on too is Greg Berlanti, the guy who runs the TV side at DC, he's actually the one who's very adamant on keeping that separate. Grant definitely wants to play that role, but you make a good point with Joss coming in there, because I think with someone with Joss's experience, Warner Brothers is just going to listen. They're going to take his word for it because of what he's done with Avengers. And there's quite a interesting thing that's going on, because you're not entirely wrong. They haven't been able to get their Flash stuff all together in the universe. Like they for some reason, directors keep falling out. Besides the directors, the writers, the actors, we're getting a lot of people who are falling out of the so-called Flashverse that they're trying to build in the DCEU. So you're not entirely wrong, because at one point, Josh could really make a stance if he really makes a splash, because we have to kind of take this back for a second, because Ezra is playing the Flash. He is in Justice League. But from what I'm hearing, when Joss took over, because Zack's daughter, what happened was Zack Snyder's daughter committed suicide in March. They kept it quiet until June. That's when they released all this info. But Joss was probably working with them since the end of BBS. Let's just be honest.
So this is a year ago, though. So they kept it under wraps an entire year. So basically, you had Zack Snyder sort of trying to grit it out. He didn't want any publicity for it. He didn't
want to make publicity for it. Yeah.
So they probably brought in Joss Whedon a quarter of the way through it to come in and consult.
Yeah. And that's why they were like, we'll give him Batgirl, because that's a great way to introduce him into here. And then when this stuff happened, they probably looked at Joss, and two guys looked in the meeting and was like, well, we got Joss Whedon. And I think that's when they were like, you know what? And Zack doesn't have a problem with it. He actually, guys, he took down all his Justice League stuff from his Twitter handle the other day. Yeah, he took it all down the other day. And I don't know what to make of that. I don't want to speculate, make fake news or anything like that, guys, but he did take all his stuff down and replace it with a teal header, and that's it, and just his picture. And we don't have any confirmation of him coming back for anything, but what you were alluding to, we were talking about earlier, Joss is going to be doing reshoots well into August on Justice League.
Oh, they're not done. I was just going to ask you that.
There's going to be effects companies that are working. I mean, every effects company in the world is going to be working on this movie from now until August, and for a November release. I mean, well, until September. It's going to be ridiculous. The hands that have to come on deck to make sure this movie comes out on time.
I'm hoping that it doesn't suffer the same fate that Suicide Squad did, where you had like a bunch of just this tone mishmash from one scene to another, where it's very serious in one scene, then it's very violent in another, then it's supposed to be funny, where they're just adding in humor for the sake of adding humor, when forced humor just isn't funny.
Exactly.
And even Batman v Superman had this a lot. It felt disjointed. Yes. That's what everyone said. Everybody's a film critic now. Everyone's a film critic. From 14-year-olds.
Turned me to a film critic.
They said it was very disjointed. They said that about Man of Steel too. Yeah. Man of Steel had more fans.
It did.
I feel than Batman v Superman. But
if you go back and watch it, it's definitely, you feel it's more of a Superman film after you watch something like BVS.
My problem with those movies is, okay, yeah, it's mixed up, whatever, the tone, this Watchmen thing, which that wasn't the best comic book movie anyway, compared to the book anyway, the graphic novel.
Oh, so
it's Superman. The guy's 6'3", handsome guy. He has the powers of a god. He can fucking fly.
Yes, he can fly,
but he's depressed.
What?
No, that doesn't say hope.
It doesn't say hope
end
at
it.
all.
That says if you're a little fat kid somewhere, just fucking end it, because even Superman, God's depressed. Then what are you going to do?
I didn't like that part, and I think too it's partly, I think it's a lot of it's the writing that went into that too, because what was really cool about, I think what keeps people watching Man of Steel and BVS is just the damn effects. What's going to stop you from watching Superman crunch up into the air, hitting 2 sonic booms, 3 sonic booms, and going crazy? You know what I mean? That to me is so cool. But what you're alluding to, okay, in Man of Steel, I don't think it was per se exactly the tone. Tones are tones. What I think it was the writing, how they put it together, and yes, how they kept him depressed, and they didn't evolve him as quick as other superhero movies, because at the end of Man of Steel, he becomes Clark. And then we see Clark for like 15 minutes in the Ultimate Edition, mind you, in BVS, and then he dies. So that's my quip. I think that's Chris Terrio's fault. If you know Chris Terrio, he is actually he was on for writing for Justice League, and I still think he's slated on there, but they brought in a whole new group of people for Justice League, dude. They fired Junkie XL and Hans Zimmer. Hans Zimmer retired from comic book movies scores, which I tell you the truth, I liked BVS's and Man of Steel's scores. I thought they were a great soundtrack. Super cool. The
Wonder Woman thing.
Yeah, the Wonder Woman thing. That's from Hans Zimmer. But Junkie XL did that too. They removed him and they put Danny Elfman back, the guy who did the first Batman theme, the guy who's done the Avengers themes. Danny Elfman is the lead singer from Oingo Boingo.
Oh,
yeah, dude, that man.
So you're saying
they removed Junkie XL and they brought in Danny Elfman.
So was that when you're saying the first Batman movie? I thought 89. I thought that was entirely done by Prince.
No, 89. 89. Danny Elfman did the score. He did the original score, the opening, the da na na na.
Oh, okay, but the soundtrack of the movie, a lot of it's Prince.
Yeah, it's Prince, but yeah, he did that score. Okay. The Batman score that we know. When you hear that and you hear it from far away, you're like, that's the Batman score, just like the Superman, which is kind of cool. And mind you, with the whole thing with Joss, I think to answer your question about how do you not make it a jumbled mess like Suicide Squad, first of all, you don't send the movie to get edited by a trailer company in Europe because that's your last minute source to edit. God. Second of all, what you do is you please the fans with some good stuff. Like from what I'm hearing, there is halls of justice sets and stuff like that I'm really getting excited for. Let's bring Superman back. He brings back the black suit, kicks some butt. He's a little scruffed. He's got some long hair, and then he has the real suit on, and we figure it out. Like just please the fans. Make it all about the powers. Make it what DC fails to realize too is I think if they were to shut everyone up for an entire movie and just make it all the effects and all them just do just that, people would actually be more pleased. And I think what they do is they've spread out the movies too. Like if you watch BVS, for instance, there's action in the beginning, some excellent action in the beginning with the destruction of Krypton. I thought that was one of the best opening scenes because I was just like, whoa, what a way to open. I'm just getting like pummeled by all this stuff. But then you slow it down with a shitty Superman entrance, a shitty Batman entrance, and then you move on with a long movie, and then you have a Batman chase scene, then you move on with a long movie, and then you pack out Batman fighting Superman, Doomsday, or actually in between that is Batman versus Superman, the warehouse scene, Doomsday, and then the death. Yeah. That was just a really stupid way of handling that whole thing.
I'm even bored hearing about it again. I've seen the movie that many, and I haven't even seen. I'm not gonna. I sound like a terrible DC fan, but I haven't seen the extended cut. I don't need to see the extended cut.
Right.
I already saw enough that I didn't like, and I liked parts of it. I like that they made the movies.
Right.
Shit, I love that they made a Green Lantern movie. It doesn't make it any better of a movie.
See, what I can argue with BVS though is that it has like a painterly background. That's the cool thing about Zack Snyder is that what I didn't like about Zack is that you see Superman in like little blips and he's like hitting stuff in like little blips. I want to see up close with Superman and some gritty action. And but what he does do is when you see an explosion, it's like, whoa, shit. Like that part where he flies in and he hits the I-beams with Doomsday and they freaking go. I was like, yeah, more of that, more of that.
More of that. But if you're going to take characters and you're going to change them so drastically, make your own characters. Don't do that to Superman. Don't do that to Batman. Like these are like pastime.
Exactly.
76 years now or 77 years of history with these characters.
Yes.
If you want to make a movie that's going to please the public, you can just take an economics lesson and look at the books that have already sold. Look at the animated films that have sold, the ones that have been critically acclaimed, the ones that people liked and they bought them. And there was like, that's the Brainiac thing. You could have done that. You could have done a real Death of Superman.
Death of Superman. In Man of Steel 2, that's not 6 years down the road, 7 years down the road. Oh. So here's what I have to offer in that sort of thing. DC is going to make up for it in terms of this. This is the smartest thing I've heard so far is that they go like this. Wonder Woman did successful, which you can agree with. You saw the movie, like the movie, all that great. They put out a movie that was a little bit more adventurous. And I mean, I saw the reaction to everything. It was stupendous, but their answer to everything. Okay, Wonder Woman hit. Why don't we hit the brakes and wait till this Justice League kind of thing hits? And then we're going to see what happens. If Justice League comes out and it doesn't work out, they're going to can it. and they're going to start all over in 2 years. Who knows, with new actors, whatever. They might even have same actors. Who knows? But they're going to pump the brakes. But what we're going to see with I think what you're alluding to, they got rid of Zach and they're bringing in somebody and they're hearing that. I think Jeff Johns for the past time since BVS is going, look, guys, we do have something to follow these comics. I've written some of them. These are the ones that have sold. And then look at the movie that's still on the map right now. That's the Unknown Horse. That who knew we would be talking that this would be our most anticipated movie, or at least my anticipated movie, is Aquaman. And if you see the behind the scenes things like I've been watching with James Wan, there's a Mera that looks like Mera. And the changes that they did with, even though I believe that Jason Momoa should have played Lobo, I think they really miscasted that. I think they should have had him play Lobo, but they could have Ron, what's his name from Sons of Anarchy, do it too.
Perlman?
Yeah, Ron Perlman. I think he'd be a great Lobo. But what I think they're doing with that is amazing, and it looks stupendous and it's colorful. And I think the reason why they're keeping that going is they're going, let's see what happens with Justice League. Let's brighten things up, and then we'll go along with that. And that what your point that you're making, Marvel did a good job of changing characters in Spider-Man. I didn't agree with one of them, but I think the way that they changed the characters up in Spider-Man, it's a New York school with a bunch of progressive little kids, with a white kid that's got these superpowers, that has, a really real looking best friend. I mean, it was kind of perfect for what they did in the Marvel universe, the kind of universe they painted for Spider-Man.
So do you believe that Marvel actually folded that? So at the end of the movie, it was MJ, and
yes,
there was a lot of flack. There was a lot of whole, racial tension over would Mary Jane, would she not be white? Would she not be a ginger? Do you think Marvel folded? Do you think they switched it at the end? Do you think they changed her name after this press came out?
I think what I think is, because I've seen videos like this, like SJW moments in Spider-Man. Like I never thought I'd be seeing comic book movie, like Ben Shapiro breaking down Spider-Man, and but half the stuff, that he's talking about, he isn't wrong. Like for instance, look at what diversifying the comics did to Marvel just recently, because DC's kicking their ass when it comes to comics.
It isn't diversifying. So the reason that they're getting their ass kicked isn't because they're diversifying. They're pandering is what they're doing.
Yeah, they're pandering.
By going out of your way to say, look, we're not racist. That's racist.
Yes.
You're going out of your way. Like we're going to make every single character that was already there was a white male before. We're going to dump all of them in favor, and we're going to be like, look how nice we are to all these different minority groups. It's like, wait, no, that's kind of racist too. And the reason DC's kicking ass right now is because the writing teams, the artwork, and the storyline on Rebirth is knocking out of the park, because you have a combination of legacy and innovation.
Yes.
You're trying to capture and bridge the gap between the old fans and the new fans. We're saying this is Superman. It's not this new guy that doesn't resemble Superman at all. It's a Superman that you grew up with, but there's artifacts of all the different Supermen along the way.
Yep.
And here's these new characters and old characters, and it's relatable storylines. Like Superman has his son, which the interactions with Jonathan Kent and Clark
and then the Batman team up with all that, and Batman's son, Damian. It's awesome. It's really cool.
It's relatable, and they're trying to do little things like that now with Iron Man. So you have Iron Heart, which is Riri Williams, right?
Mm-hmm. Riri Williams. Yeah,
but then she has this AI. It's sort of Tony Stark. We don't really know if he's going to come back or not, because he's incapacitated. So it's this whole mixed thing where Marvel is more focused. They have been more focused on.
They've been going out of their way, like you said. They're kind of pandering. Now, check this out. My friend brought this up, and she kind of got me thinking. I don't think it's what it is, but she kind of thinks that the MJ character is working with Tony Stark in some weird way in Spider-Man. And what I really wish they would have done, instead of having her be MJ and not for a racial thing, people, what I think they should have done is that should have been Riri. They could have, because she was so smart, and she was like, as smart as and as lazy with her smartness as Peter was, and she was able to just be. I think that would have been really cool if she was Riri, and and secretly she was having her eye on Peter, and everywhere Peter was, she was. So, it really makes a lot of sense.
Well, her being MJ versus being Riri, it doesn't matter at this point.
It doesn't matter at this point.
I mean, what they wind up doing with Marvel is, regardless, they're going to look at what works in the movies, and they're going to rebrand those comics to match the movies. As opposed to, vice versa.
What I liked about Tom Holland's version is if you go back and you watch Spider-Man, not Spider-Man Unlimited, the Ultimate Spider-Man, the newer one.
I love that show.
Yeah, the one that has he's working with Luke Cage, he's working with the Defenders.
Oh, with the where it's not the Defenders.
It's not the Defenders. It's like Luke Cage, Iron
New
Fist.
Warriors.
Yeah.
With Nova.
Yeah, with Nova. Yeah, I love that show. I watch that every afternoon like I'm a little kid.
It's better than the first season. I didn't like where he had the breaking the fourth wall stuff.
Yes. Yeah. That was a little too much.
I feel like the tone changed. It advanced for people. It was for little kids in the first season. I think it's kind of for teenagers in the second.
Yes.
Which sort of applies to both of us in both cases.
Yes.
Because we're going to watch this shit no matter what.
No matter what.
They made Teen Titans Go, which looked like a show for 2-year-olds, and then that's one of my favorite shows.
There's Justice League. There's a few newer Justice League
Justice
shows.
season
Justice
3.
League Action. There's a couple of them that are kind of not that kiddish.
I don't know where to find Justice League Action. That's out.
Yeah, it's out. It's out. It's go look on fmovies.to or is, whatever it is now, and you'll find it on there.
It's funny because that's a better answer as opposed to it's on so and so channel, because I haven't had cable in years. I wouldn't know. And it's not because cable's expensive. It's because I don't want to watch commercials.
I don't want to watch commercials either. It's just so much. It's so much less of a hassle. I love watching stuff off of that website because it's hard for them to stop it. And second of all, it just has everything on. I used to go to Rasputin and just spend money like a dummy. Now I don't have to, because unless I really want the Blu-ray and I like physical media, but and what we're talking about with Spider-Man. There's a part in the beginning where he brings the camera down. He's like, I can have the suit. Dude, that part, I was for some reason something hit me. I was like, that's Spidey, dude. That's some young Spidey. Wow, exactly. What a way to knock it out of the park, you young British little kid, just like Cavill, just like all these other dudes.
But he did good with the Brooklyn accent. It's the so first good. Spider-Man movie where it was actually accurate to where he lived, because the majority of the Marvel the majority of the Marvel universe and all this stuff with Spider-Man, it's all New York City based, but none of the Spider-Men before that sounded like they've ever even been in New York, or they had any idea what a New Yorker would sound like. So having with the Brooklyn accent's actually pretty cool for me, because as an East Coaster, I hear him talking, and the food. Yeah, Marissa Tomei, people.
Marissa Tomei, it's Seinfeld, dude.
A lot of
George
people
Costanza
gave it flack because she's younger, but then if you look at it, if it's a younger Spider-Man, how old is Aunt May supposed to be?
Remember in Unlimited, or not Unlimited, the one I'm talking about, the Ultimate Spider-Man, she has light hair, but she's not old. She's a kind of she's kind of young and spunky, and I liked that. I think that's cool.
It's not Grandma May.
Yeah, it's not Grandma May.
And because Spider-Man's a little bit older in some of the comics, I guess.
Dude, they can grow with this character for years if they want to, like that, dude, because they don't have to keep, they could bring in a Judi Dench in 6 movies, you know what I mean? And what I see with this character growing, man, is really cool. And I have another theory about Spider-Man, because the way they're introducing him, I think because his movie Spider-Man Homecoming 2, it's not going to be called Homecoming 2, guys, but it's the next movie after the Infinity War happens, because it's going to go Infinity War, 2 months, the next Infinity War, then we get however long after that. The first movie after that is Spider-Man dealing with the repercussions of whatever happened. And what I think is going to happen is Spidey's going to go to college, and Reed Richards is going to be introduced somehow, and he's going to be studying under Reed Richards in a way that Tony didn't do. Tony's going to give him a lot of, or not Tony. Reed's going to give him a lot of attention, and it's going to be something that's very, out there, and just, it's going to be not public, but it's going to be something where it's going to take him in the future. Another theory that I heard that I kind of like is that Tobey Maguire might come back and play a flashback Uncle Ben in the movie.
Wow,
Tobey Maguire.
That would be cool.
It'd be a nice little nod to the characters, nice little Sam Raimi nod. Because I like how they do that in the DC TV shows, as they bring back these kind of characters, these older characters and stuff like that may have appeared in, Dean Cain. He's playing another character, the woman who played what's her name, Lois, in that same thing. I believe they're playing. Dean Cain is playing Kara's adoptive father, where the woman who played Lois is playing somebody from Krypton who's still alive and all that sort of stuff. So I think it's cool how they do that. I think that'd be really cool, a nice little nod. But if we want to move on from that, because I really, really like, I think you should hit mute. Yeah, I really, really like what I'm seeing out of Marvel from D23 and what Josh Brolin's guns and his haircut looking like Cable, and then all the artwork from the Order and Thanos. Man, whoever got to go to D23, fuck you, by the way, because you got to see that footage of Thanos throwing a freaking moon at Spiderman or whatever, whoever the hell he was throwing shit at.
So it was D23. Was it not the same time as SDCC, or is
no? So
Comic-Con is this coming weekend?
It's coming this weekend, okay. And then they had D23 this past weekend. So they were releasing a lot of the stuff for just specifically Disney. Last year, I heard a little bit more of this. They were designing D23 to detract people from SDCC, so that way Marvel and Disney can have their own platform, and everybody else would be kind of operating out of the Comic-Con sphere that they have to operate, the madness of Comic-Con. But they didn't have as much success as they thought they did, and I think that's why they didn't show that big trailer as well, is they want to create some exclusivity to D23 and make more people go to it next year. But Comic-Con is going to be Comic-Con. It's going to be hard to beat that.
So in terms of the big expectations coming out of the Marvel D23 and Comic-Con, mm-hmm. we're talking Infinity War trailers. We're talking what are the other big things anything for the TV space, like the Netflix series?
Actually, I think I heard they're going to have Marvel's going to have one of the largest panels ever in Comic-Con. Just for the Infinity War movie, I'm hearing that they're going to try to bring 100-something actors or something like that, some ridiculous amount. Everyone showing up for that. Not everyone showed up for D23. Everybody's showing up for that. I believe we're getting a Infinity War trailer. We're going to get more footage from Ragnarok, more footage from Black Panther. And I think the focus is going to be more on Black Panther in this one, because Black Panther looks really darn good from the trailers, from what I saw, and everything that I'm expecting from it. The cast is epic as fuck. So I think Black Panther is going to be pushed really hard, and I do think there's going to be some reveals of characters. Like, we're going to see our first reveal of Miss Marvel. We're going to see our first reveal of something. I think there's going to be surprises like Namor or something like that in the movie. There's going to be some pretty big things going on.
You can't do Namor.
Yeah.
Mutant.
Yeah.
So
they could just change his background like they did to Quicksilver.
They'd have to make him an Inhuman. Honestly, I hope they get off of that. The Inhuman thing, it's not working in comic books. It's not working. Fans don't like it, which I get it.
Do you want to see the show? You don't want to see the show?
I'm not gonna watch it. No.
Me neither. I'm kind of not for from what I saw, because Black Bolt's such an epic character. Why don't you just have him? Just throw him in there. You don't have to have all the Inhumans. Just throw the dude in there.
But his whole gimmick is he can't talk. They have a teleporting dog. It's just another sort of try doing the X-Men stuff again. And
yes,
I'm not into it. And they buried the X-Men over the entire Sony, Fox, Marvel thing.
But they are coming out with I believe at Comic-Con they're going to show us some Dark Phoenix stuff. I think the Dark Phoenix stuff is coming out there, and I'm not arguing for them. This is what I'm hearing is Dark Phoenix, intergalactic X-Men, a little bit more of Chitauri, that sort of stuff. They're going to be going that direction.
Well, that whole storyline in space was really Xavier being in space, with the Phoenix dealing with this, and it's a great storyline and everything, but it's so freaking convoluted by the end of it.
The continuity schmontinuity over there with the X-Men universes by the way.
Well, even in the comics back then, that was a clusterfuck. Yeah. Because you weren't sure, is this the real Jean Grey? Is it the clone Jean Grey?
Exactly.
And all of a sudden, Cyclops with the one, he's with the other one. I get it. It's cool. It was important at the time, mm-hmm. because female characters at the time were seen as like damsels in distress, or like the Lois Lanes mm-hmm. of that generation anyway. Mm-hmm. So to have Jean Grey come and be one of the most prominent, the most powerful at the time character in the mutant sort of scape, or in that part of the Marvel universe,
right.
That was a really big deal then, especially because it was Marvel, and the X-Men specifically dealt a lot with the social side of things. With they
did, especially the X-Men. The X-Men, it was a very political comic. It was actually one of the most political comics I think that Stanley did.
It was. Man, I don't know. We're probably not going to have on any of the jiu-jitsu MMA guys having much fun with this. Everybody loves comic books, but movies.
Yeah. Why don't we move on? Yeah.
I wanted to segue. Well, first of all, like, let's cover, because everybody else is covering it right now.
Yeah.
Betting odds. What are you thinking in terms of McGregor Mayweather?
By the way,
what are you feeling so far?
By the way, I heard some dudes talking about it in Whole Foods just now, and
it's so funny.
I almost because this dude was talking about a second later how he wants to move up on top of Santa Cruz Mountain with a Chevy 84 or something, Chevy with a solid front axle. He has this handlebar mustache, and I was like, dude, I hear the ladies talking next to you about the topiaries they want in their front lawn, and I think the same thing, bro. Calm down. It's just, they were talking about the social political ramifications of the homophobic, racist, crazy, misogynistic side of this betting thing. But this is what they said. But this is what they said. But this is what they said. I'm still gonna watch it. I was like, but you know what? I almost turned around and I was like, I was gonna say the same thing. Like, hey guys, you don't have to get their motives. It's a fight. And I had to kind of, I made a post a long time ago when DC and John Jones kind of had that beef, and I made this post kind of talking about what happened during that press conference, and they fought, and how bad it was. And then I kind of got a stern talking to, and then I kind of went back and looked at it and was like, yeah, it's a fight, man. Like, what am I talking about, man? This is, I used to watch Rocky movies when I was a kid, man. I'm looking at this like it's something different, like this is what we're getting right now out of this, by the way, is 10 times different than DC and John Jones. That's very, very, very personal. I think this is not as personal, but what these guys were talking about was something different. I think what we got is something, a little more insight than these guys do. The betting odds, isn't it 5-1?
No. So initially it was like plus 900 to minus 500. It was something, reasonable.
Right.
But once all of this world tour thing kicked on, now it's minus 550 to plus 375. So it's plus 375 if McGregor wins. There's no reason to bet this.
I was choked on my kombucha.
There's no reason to bet. So
I was choked on my kombucha.
These are silly odds. Like this, these are standard. If this was a regular UFC fight or this is a regular boxing match, that would be like a slightly lopsided fight where the guy still has a chance. These odds right now on paper, if you bet money on this thing, unless you know for sure what's going to happen, the fix is in for sure.
The fix is in for
this sure. This is a waste of your goddamn money. Do not do it.
Do not do it. Yeah.
So back in November, it was minus 2250 to plus 950, right? At that point, you can make some decent money on this.
Make some decent money, yeah.
I mean, you can parlay it. You can look at the over-under and how many rounds it's going to go. Or you could even look at something like the draw. I thought the draw is like plus 5,000. So, I mean, if you're wanting to throw money away on a huge long shot, the draw. But what is it, a 12 or a 10-round fight?
12. I think it's 12 round.
Okay. Yeah. So we haven't seen Conor go anywhere near that. In fact, we've seen him in 5-round fights be gassed out of his mind. He's going to be carrying around more muscle mass than he usually does. I mean, granted, he's a larger guy than most for his weight classes he's fought at so far, but he hasn't carried around gloves that heavy before.
Never.
That matters. They're 2 or 3 times heavier. Mm-hmm. And he has to keep them up at all times, as he's going to be chasing around someone that does not get hit ever.
The best defensive boxer of all time.
He's elusive. He's fast.
What he did to Canelo Alvarez to be able to move out of the way and hit Canelo like he did, because I don't think a lot of people know. If you watch that fight broken down, Canelo got hit with some pretty hard shots from Mayweather. Like that's pretty gnarly, dude. That's crazy. And he was Canelo was the scariest chance I think at taking out Mayweather. That was the best chance that anybody had.
A lot of fight fans, a lot of boxing fans that like they watch Mayweather fights because a lot of people want to watch because they want to watch him get his ass kicked. They hope he loses because after 49 fights and the flashy and the flashy stuff, the money, the shit talk, all this stuff, people want to. He's a perfect natural heel if you're a pro wrestling fan, right?
Yes,
he's the baby face, the good guy, and then Mayweather embraces being the bad guy.
Being the bad guy. It was kind of the perfect storm for that fight, dude. It really, and the leading up to it, the fact that Canelo was knocking out like every one of his partners in training, he was just the bigger guy. He had to cut a lot of weight to get down to there. It was just amazing the amount of training those guys went to. That Jalisco redheaded white boy, he is one of my favorite boxers of all time, and actually I was kind of in that boat of people who was like, Mayweather. Then when I saw Mayweather did what he did to Canelo, I was like, I'm a huge Mayweather fan. But put me in as not that I didn't appreciate what he did, guys. It was just more of like, I can really appreciate what he did to a guy like Canelo Alvarez. That's the fight that I always put in people's hand when they go, hey, give me your opinion on this fight. I go, well, we got to look at the Canelo Mayweather fight. That's the closest thing to a bigger guy who cut some weight to get down to fight. He's bigger. He's got the bigger shoulders. He's kind of got he doesn't have a McGregor style. He has a straight boxer style, but he has a wilder style than.
Oh yeah. He opens up. He opens up. He took he did take chances in that Mayweather fight. Mayweather
moved and would just go bink with a straight punch and just bing.
But he was also tying up on the ropes quite a bit. So that's the thing I'm worried about, though. If you're going to tie up with someone like McGregor with the dirty boxing, where that's part of MMA.
That's part of MMA.
The clinch is
slip out, but it's a bigger glove. There's a lot of, we can sit here and speculate all day. I think what we saw out of the press conference was gnarly. And I think that the fight just has to happen now because they definitely deaded every bit and I feel like they exhausted every bit of my fiber thinking about it, hearing all the shit talking that happened. These guys who were talking about it in Whole Foods, the guy said that the racist things only came from, and the racist, misogynistic, homophobic things came from McGregor only. As a matter of fact, when I was watching the London press conference, Mayweather turns around and calls McGregor a faggot. Quote unquote faggot, and I don't approve of anybody calling anyone anything, but it's a fight, guys. They're selling it. Like if you were to watch the end of the London press conference when they're about to face off, Mayweather walks up to McGregor and goes, "Hey, we got to face off." He goes, "Okay, we're gonna face off. Cool." Like they were talking all that smack for that time, and when Mayweather was like, "Hey, we gotta face off right now," McGregor was like, "Yeah, cool, let's do it." And then he gets up again, starts going, motherfucker, and all that. It's a ruse, guys. They are making a ton of fucking money on this fight.
Oh yeah.
So.
Oh, did you see the guy that actually he printed his own laminates? He went online because one of Mayweather's driver, one of his entourage, posted pictures of his passes. There's a backstage one, the promoter pass, and then he had the general entrance pass.
Right.
So what this kid does is he goes on there, he prints them out, goes and photoshops it. Gets a laminator. Gets these VIP little wristbands that you would wear to the club. Gets a suit on, and a little earpiece,
and just goes in there.
He walked out with McGregor. He walked out with McGregor.
That's so nice. Oh, that's right. I saw
the video.
I didn't see the video, but I saw the
fucking
listing
tremendous.
Of that. That's so crazy. You know who was also another thing to mention, by the way, guys? The form Voltron thing. Okay. Let's just be honest. Let's just be honest really quickly, okay? If those juice heads went up to Dinas Oram, I think that's his name, or Oram, right? That 145 fighter who trains with
Dylan. What's it?
Dylan. There was or whatever his name, the Russian guy, the guy who trains with that side, and then Owen, his trainer. Let's just be honest, guys. Dylan Dinas could have choked out all three of those dudes if he really wanted to.
But how big were they? I'd like to see how big they were because it's
one of the dudes was sparring sparred one of Mayweather's really, really green guys and just got tased, just one hit, boom.
But how big is he?
He was pretty big. He was pretty big. But you know what? Dylan was taller than him. Okay. I feel like Dylan could have dealt with that guy. The really, really, really huge guys, I think they would have just had to move out of the way and get him kind of tired in a minute. Because those really, really big dudes is obese dudes that protect Mayweather. I think they're there just to build a wall. They're not running anywhere.
So I've been within arm's reach of Mayweather's money team, Floyd, his whole entourage. Yeah. Here's some things. There's a lot of very large people there. That's one part of it. Right. It's a very dense group, but they're all packing lots of ammunition. They're all carrying weapons. I've been to
so gnarly
establishments where they were patronizing them as well during some sort of party. It might have been a bachelor party or something like that.
I'm sure they do. That doesn't surprise me. That's very similar to a crew that would be part of a rap crew or even even celebrities, even there's celebrities, no matter what color they are, that have a group of people around them that, they have some ex-special forces dude taking their kids to school, with guns on them, people like Mayweather will surround themselves with anybody they can. And you can see the way he was running away with the microphone going, yeah. It's like, dude, he's done this before. Form Voltron, some dude's messing with him in the club. Form Voltron, it's Drake or somebody.
Connor had me rolling though. He had them rolling too. He had them laughing too.
He did.
He's shout out to all you stripping bitches. Yeah. Oh my god,
dude! All that was. I mean, everything he said up there was pretty much golden. With Mayweather responding in some pretty interesting ways. I think the first press conference he had a lot more momentum. He had a lot more people responding to his stuff, and then the ones that they got closer, like Toronto, and when they got to London, it was definitely a heavily favored McGregor.
He can't keep up.
He cannot keep up.
He cannot keep up. He just doesn't have that quick wittedness that McGregor is.
Nope. And McGregor, you could tell he could probably do that for 3 more hours.
Dude, the guy's a star. He comes out. He's got so much charisma, and huge props to Dana White for finding that guy.
Yeah, dude. 60 G's, baby. Remember that, guys? Remember when he went from the 60 G's, baby, to where he is? Just think about that, and the fact that he's fighting in one of the biggest pay-per-views in boxing. He didn't have Mayweather come over to MMA like James Toney or any of that. He went over to the other side.
Go get paid.
And he went to go get paid. And now he's going to bring up the fight money for you guys. I don't know if you guys see, there's certain people like Alistair Overeem that are making 800,000 a fight. There's other people that are out there that are making close to the million. They're not making anything. But Mayweather is about to make $100 million when he comes back to the UFC. Who knows what he's going to make when he comes back?
No, I don't think he's fighting anymore.
You don't think he's going to fight anymore?
Why?
I think probably.
Why?
Yeah, I don't
For
think
what?
so. I think what I would do is create news that I am going to fight again, and at the end of it, I'll be like, I'm retiring.
For what purpose? Like, what's his end of the pay? He's got the $100 million. You're getting $100 million for Floyd.
Yeah.
But there's the downside to it. There's the sponsorships go into it. What's Connor making off of this? High 8 figures.
I would say
high 8 figures.
Yeah, high 8 figures, somewhere around there.
I mean, he has expensive taste, but so.
And yet they're not tied to like a Reebok deal or anything like that with this. So he can go and grab whatever he wants. He can go and get whatever he wants for this.
It's not, UFC is not even on the fight poster.
Yeah, it's not even on the fight poster.
McGregor Promotions is.
Yeah, McGregor Promotions is. Yeah.
So, man, it's
and
tremendous.
Like the lettering is more UFC lettering, but it's Showtime's show.
It's all Showtime.
Yeah.
McGregor. And then, man, I'm sure like William Morris, WME-IMG has some big part of it.
I'm sure McGregor was like, listen, I won't do this unless I have my boy Dana White out there with me. And you guys mentioned him because that's the guy who brought me to there. As much as he wants to take over them, I think, and he
owns his contract. He does own his contract.
Yeah,
Dana White's getting paid like a motherfucker. You know Dana White is, and because it's not just it's McGregor and then William Morris.
Yes, yeah.
So WME-IMG is not just some slouch. It's one of the biggest media conglomerates.
Huge.
Period.
And they had Ronda. They had a few other people.
They have Howard Stern.
Yeah,
they have every damn person of those owners on there. The what's his the fucking Batman, Ben Affleck's on the Serena Venus
Williams on the top of that list. By the way, guys, if you don't know,
Conan O'Brien.
If you guys want to say, if Meryl Streep wants to make comments about how people of a certain demographic watch the UFC, well, the two biggest investors in the UFC that are making the biggest bank out of the UFC right now are Serena and Venus Williams. So
the funny
swallow that.
The funny one is Guy Fieri.
Yeah, Guy Fieri.
He's definitely one.
Ben Affleck is like number 23 on the list. I think he's on a $9 million kind of spiel or some or $23 million spiel or something like that. I think theirs is up. Serena and them's up near the 101 million. That's pretty fucking gnarly, dude.
So what do you think? Big UFC coming up is UFC 214. You got Cormier Jones, you got T Wood against Damian Maia, you have Cyborg finally.
Cyborg's coming on here. Who's she fighting?
Tanya Evinger.
Oh, that's right.
She's
I know.
145er in Invicta. She's
Invicta,
she's a stud over there, or I don't know what the female equivalent to a stud is, but she's a beast. She's been on a tear.
You got Sage getting in there again.
Is he Super Sage?
Yeah, Super Sage is getting back in there again.
And it was, what was the one that was? Even Josh Berkman's getting back in there too. This is almost like his 50th fight or something. Now. It's crazy.
The girl from Hawaii, the Colleen, that girl.
Yeah, it's a stacked card.
Sarah McMahon. I'm a Sarah McMahon fan as much as like she. A lot of people saw her lose pretty quickly to Ronda. I think she's somebody who's building back a pretty decent momentum. I like the fact that she was a high level wrestler in there. She packs a punch.
So in terms of, you basically have 3 main events. Seeing Cyborg get the title shot, very happy for that. Big Cyborg fan.
I used to train with Jermaine at AKA, and when she was there for a while, because when the girls are that size, but they still have to train with dudes who are still my size in jiu-jitsu. I never sparred with her, guys. I would not fucking just no. Keep me with the guys my size. I saw her rec shop, but I used to train a lot of jiu-jitsu with her, and she is a very humble person, all that stuff. She gave up the title. It's because inside she believes she didn't deserve that. It wasn't because, oh, Cyborg is this or Cyborg is that. I don't see Jermaine fearing anyone, guys. She's fought at a very high level in kickboxing. If you get high level in any sort of fighting, you're not scared of anyone. So she's not scared of anyone. She gave it up because she knew that she needed to be in a better place and that there was someone better. And so she gave it up. I think with this fight, I think Cyborg is taking the fight finally. It's good. Her and her husband Ray have been campaigning for a very long time to get her on the books, and they've been showing all these videos and stuff. And Ray, right?
Ray, I'll be all over guy.
Yeah, great dude. Cool. Ever since his Tiger Muay Thai days, and all that, when he was campaigning back there, I've been a fan of that guy. Really cool dude. And what he's been doing for her, it shows kind of like I think people are jealous of them. To tell you the truth, I think they to see somebody be so there for the fighter and it be a guy this time, and dude, the woman be the front and all that.
He's all about her, man. He takes really good care of her. I've hung out with those guys. Yeah. Dude,
and I've never hung out with them. Everything I've seen is from TV and media, and I tip my hat, dude. You're a cool dude, and what Cyborg has to go through to be at the high level she's at, get the fuck out of here,
And if you've ever been around her, and a lot of people just know Cyborg through just whatever they see on TV or on the internet, YouTube,
or the
whatever.
Drug test, whatever all your fighters are on fucking drug test.
If you see how she treats her fans, we went out to an after party after an MMA event she put on with South Coast Mitsubishi down in LA or whatever,
right?
And at her table, she had all of her. She has this pink belt sort of, boot camp, like a weight loss kind of thing she does.
That's cool.
And it was like a lot of there's some older ladies in there. There were, some moms, stuff like that.
Not just fighters that you'd expect to be around her at all times.
And instead of having these LA cool kids at her table, and this was a very cool, it was like a hip nightclub. And like I'm saying, I know what the fuck I'm talking about, but it was hot. It was a cool club.
Yeah, it's a good place.
She had a bunch of moms there that the ones that were part of her part of her class, her students and stuff. And
that's real.
Just seeing her interact with these people, in and off the mat, it's cool. So her support section was just her members of her, and she was very personable with them, like they were her friends. And she didn't go out there trying to bring celebrities to the table. So it was just regular people that she's friends with from real life. Ray's super cool. He helps her out a lot with the social media, with the English stuff.
I can imagine there's a lot of people that probably distance themselves from her in ways that she maybe didn't want to, and it shows who your real friends are when you try to go through very, very low times and then you try to succeed again. And I think that's probably what's indicative of that, is she's probably bringing those people up because they were bringing her up when no one was probably giving her a chance.
She's just a genuinely nice person. Man. She's just nice.
That's awesome.
I'd see some of these tests being just either misunderstanding, stuff like that, because the landscape between a few years ago and now with the testing and everything is very different.
It's extremely stringent now.
Well, look at Vanderlei. He's reinstated now.
Yeah, he's reinstated now. Mm-hmm.
So just seeing how that is,
it's really weird because I have theories on a lot of people who use and don't use that stuff, and
you mean professional athletes?
Being around professional athletes,
all of them,
all of them. Yeah, and guys, not everybody is injecting 250 every day. Okay, there's people who are, I could imagine a jiu-jitsu fighter who's 154 pounds who injects 110 once a week. And that's enough. That's all they need. So they're at the level. So when they get tested, they're not popping off the freaking charts. And when they go down, it's not a huge effect. There's people who use this stuff in a very different way than everybody thinks. No, we're looking at the tail end of a Vanderlei age and a Vitor age where Don't forget, guys, Vitor was 245 when he debuted in the UFC or something like that.
He was like the world's largest welterweight. He was the world's like
he was like 223 or 230 or something like that.
You see all these welterweights with muscles. You're like, what are you talking about? And like, but they're heavyweights or
they're heavyweights,
light heavyweights, but they're welterweights.
He was so stacked, dude. He was so scary looking back then, dude. You know. And then when you saw him against Rockhold, it was a true middleweight, but puffed. And then when you see him now, you know, he's now, but you know. There's a lot of people who take that stuff, guys, and they don't have this huge backlash because they didn't take as much as Vitor, you know. So there's a lot of stuff that goes into that. But you know, with going back to the fights, I think Christine doing what she's doing is great. I can't wait to see her fight. What I'm really excited for on that card, if it goes through, is both Damian Maia versus T Wood. So people will shut up about that fight, and then we can move on in the welterweights, and then we get our DC John Jones fight, which I think some people really need to, you know, they really need to, you know, I'm looking into that fight as best as I can, but you know, they're going to sell that fight too, guys. Don't worry. That fight is going to be, you're going to hear a lot more stuff leading up to it. And it's just talking about T Wood and Damian Maia, like, T Woodley is a stocky dude with some stupendous boxing, straight down the pipe boxing, wrestling, big old thighs like a running back. Damian Maia can grab onto him, but it's going to be hard. It's going to be very, very hard.
You know, the explosiveness from Tyron Woodley is one thing, his athleticism, but we've seen Damian Maia use his other, you know, less chiseled or less defined attributes to get into that game. I mean, remember
he does that deep half guard sit to opening the can opener to,
he can wrestle,
to sit
though.
up. He does to a sit up single. It's always the same thing when you see Damian Maia sit up single. Then when he sweeps them, he gets to like a knee crush position where the leg's over the other leg and his knee's in between, and he kind of hovers over them. And then when they move from that, he goes to mount. It's every fight. Every single fight is the same sequence.
I mean, even his wrestling is underrated. If you look at his, even way back in the day when he fought Fitch, before he's on this, you know, this big uprising, Sonnen too, right?
Yeah, when he fought Sonnen, the only person who did the game plan was Anderson. That was the only person who like kind of kicked him away and kind of pushed him away a little bit enough to.
I think with the role that that Damian Maia is on now, all of the momentum he has, if they were to fight again, like I don't think he would play that the same way. Like he would get in his face because he's able to use some striking. He has some unorthodox striking, but he's able to use that just to close the distance.
And plus, Anderson's very shy now. He likes to let them come in and do this weird shuffle where he used to just be like catch, pop, 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 pop. Now he has kind of this weird thing where he likes to see everybody come in, anticipate.
No, after that leg break, after that knockout, and those are like both things were so traumatic. It's not the same anymore. And
he would definitely freeze, and it would let Damian get in.
And Damian Maia is an anaconda. You don't want that guy anywhere near you.
Not
you
at all.
Keep your distance.
And I think too. He has the style, like you're saying, to be able to kill the wrestler. What I see from T Wood is him being able to keep him at the end of a punch too. That's what T Woodley has, is that pop and that crack that a lot of people don't. You know what I mean? Like what he did to Josh Koscheck was gnarly, dude. That knockout was pretty impressive. I knew Josh. I've known Josh for a while, and I know his style, and he likes to stand there and bang, and he definitely is a great wrestler. You know, he taught me a lot when it comes to wrestling, but like, you know, he stood in the wrong thing where Damian's not going to stand in that. He's not going to try to engage that. You know, he's definitely going to try to get in there. What I think T Wood's going to come in with is a strong game plan though. You know, and that's the one thing that separates T Wood from a lot of these guys. He can get into the heat of the fire, but he can also, you know, I think the only time he got out game plan was in Strikeforce when he faced Marquardt, when Marquardt was coming back and had more experience than him.
Oh, that was the
knockout, that badass knockout from when he won the welterweight title at the middleweight title.
Yeah, he got pounded. He got pounded out in the fourth.
Yeah, dude, and it was gnarly. I mean, that was a great fight, but it was like, I think it was just game plan. Like Nate Marquardt at that time was a more experienced fighter with a good game plan, and Damian Maia has a different game plan. You know, and a good one.
I mean, you know,
look at those wins. Look at that. Look at that.
I mean, the only really big difference, I mean,
is the streak.
The streak, yeah, but you know, Damien's closer to 40. Tyron Woodley's 35. You know, the wins they've had, it's mostly submissions versus you know, it's a couple TKOs and decisions for Tyron Woodley.
Yeah,
you're looking like explosiveness and cardio versus a guy that's going to use his striking and his wrestling to set up just a smother. You know, it's just
look at that jiu-jitsu belly.
Oh yeah,
just core under it and coxinha over it. You know, just like, what are you gonna do, Maya? What are you gonna do, Damien? He's just breaking up the coxinha, just sitting there like, you know, I'm gonna pull half guard. I'm gonna, you know, I'm just gonna. And then what's Tyrone? You know, he's like freaking pacing around the gym. You know, doing all these crazy workouts and all this other. You know, it's like such a different. That's what I like about it too. It's like a clash of styles. It's like Street Fighter. You know,
it's like the striker versus the grappler. But it's. But they're enhanced. They're
enhanced, yeah.
They both are pretty well rounded.
Yes.
You just don't want to get close to Damian Maia. I'd like to see how the exchange work goes in terms of wrestling. But honestly, if you get that close to Damian Maia, he's so slick like that. He's on a whole other level. The big one on that card, and it hasn't been hyped that much because obviously the UFC is sort of busy.
It's busy right now.
Hyping a boxing match.
It's going to be everything's going to be on hiatus until this thing's over.
Which is unfortunate because Cormier John Jones is going to come a month before this you know, Mayweather McGregor scrap, and this is, you know, this is supposed to be it's usually the most watched title in the UFC. The light heavyweight title has been the one that has been sort of tracked the closest. Dating all the way back to Tito Ortiz.
Yeah, and
Chuck Liddell. Like it would have been like Ortiz.
Even Frank Shamrock. I think what started it was the Frank Shamrock title, because what you were seeing
he dumped it.
He dumped it. Yeah, he dumped it with the pancreas. But I remember right when Frank Shamrock owned Tito and had that title, which was a crazy fight. That's when we saw the UFC. That's when we saw dudes with tap out hats and they were big and stocky and all that. Yep. That's when we were starting to see that sort of thing. And then Tito had his run for a long time after Frank left, and then Chuck came in, and so that's a great way.
Then you had Randy Couture.
Randy
you had
Couture.
All these big personalities, and during that time, the 155 and 170 title, like
they were gone. Or 170 was there, but BJ did his thing with Matt Hughes,
and the heavyweight champion was Tim Sylvia, you couldn't sell a fight with him as the main event.
It was Arn Jarolowski and him like going back and forth, winning and losing, and then Tim, and then Randy Couture came in and just slapped his little booty out of the way, and then we had Gabriel. That's really when the buildup happened. But you talking about the light heavyweight championship,
DC John Jones.
I think you know, I've known DC for a very long time, trained wrestling under him. You know, I've done a lot of stuff very close to the heart of AK, and will always support AK. It's just a tough fight for him, man, because he's facing one of the genetic freaks of the UFC, the guy with the ability to do pretty much anything he wants to in the ring.
Asterisk.
Yeah.
Asterisk. If he comes back clean.
If he comes back clean. Yeah.
If he comes back even semi-clean.
Yep.
It should be a good day for him. I mean, DC's confident now. He's comfortable in there.
Yes.
But his only loss again is to John Jones.
But that could be for a guy like DC. And from what this is why I'd always like DC. And, you know, I take back everything I used to say about him and John Jones during that last thing with their press conference. And I really want people to know that, because when I got to know DC, it was towards the tail end of when I left AKA, and when I started hearing his story, then I went, God damn, I don't know. That guy has been through a lot. And when you've been through a lot like that and you know how to pull yourself out of it and become great again, like you went to the Olympics and you were undisciplined and a lot of things didn't work out for you because of that undisciplinedness, and you really regret it. And then you had a lot of life tragedies happen. You have this resurgence in the sport and become to the best of the pinnacle. You get to the title and you don't win it, and then you win it. And then, you know, there's all this stuff. I think someone like that, they revel. They revel in things like that. And whether he wins or loses, I'm going to be along for the ride. And I think that's pretty fucking awesome. You know what I mean?
That he's there now. I've heard on multiple occasions that, you know, how he did in the Olympics, you know, he wasn't happy with it. And getting that UFC title was like, it was just really, it was a big life accomplishment for him. And I mean, so, but the asterisk being John Jones when they met, that he lost the fight. But then you look at what he's done since then. He's taken out Rumble and everyone else. I mean,
Gustafsson is the fight that I really look at and go, dang, dude, That was tough. That was really tough. Like what a way to gain some miles, man. To go against Gustafsson, who is, to tell you the truth, that's the guy who did some of the most damage to John Jones.
And a lot of people believe that that actually Gustafsson won the fight against John Jones.
Yes.
If you watch it back on mute without Joe Rogan, it's a little closer.
It's a little closer.
It's a little bit closer, but no,
I have to still give it to the champ. You don't beat the champ. You don't beat the champ.
That's bullshit. People say that, and that's handicapping. That's fucking illegal. It's every fight is 0-0. Every fight starts even. If you're saying, oh, it's the champion, no, that's a prop.
I think in the UFC, well, I think
it's a fucking prop.
I think looking at the UFC, that's how they do it. You know what I mean? Like,
but it's bullshit.
Clearly, that's how they do it. In
it's bullshit. I don't like hearing it.
If you go to Dream, or not Dream, doesn't exist anymore. If you were to go to like Dream or Sengoku or like any of those events back in the day, or K1, it wasn't like that. It wasn't like you had to beat the champ.
It shouldn't be, and that people like are willing to look to that as some sort of, well, it's the champ.
Yeah,
no, man. There's so many interim titles brought up all the damn time that they're nothing more than a marketing merchandising prop, and a lot of
you see Bisping throw his shit down.
Well, because
what's his name?
Because he knows. Because he knows.
He's like, you take that.
They overdo it. They really overdo it. So
they do. And it's just, Bisping has an injury. Big deal. He has the title. You're waiting. What are you doing with your? Is there a 155 interim title right now? No.
Well, who's the 145 champion?
Or 145? There's a definitive champion, which is Max Holloway, right? Yeah, Max Holloway is. But
Connor, because Connor vacated it.
Because Connor vacated it. But 155, it's still
Connor.
It's Connor. That's
It's that boxing guy.
That boxing thing. That's it.
It's the boxer.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah.
The number one contender.
The number one
for
contender.
For the greatest champion in the modern era, or the last 3 generations, or whatever the hell of boxing.
Who's the interim?
Is there no? There's no interim, is there?
Yeah,
no. So then the boxing guy. So the number one contender with the 0-0 record. Guys, these guys are geniuses. Everybody's wondered who's gonna win.
You can like clearly see it with that situation. You go interim, no interim. They're so, Mighty Mouse. That's smart. It. Yeah,
they're so fucking smart.
And then look at what they're doing to fuck around with Mighty Mouse. You know what I mean? Just because they can't. They're like, oh, you little pipsqueak. I'm gonna put you under my thumb a little bit.
Oh, Dana's he's a savage. He doesn't care. he gives 0 fucks. But then again, Mighty Mouse posts this big dramatic thing on Facebook. That he's the pound for pound this, that, and the other thing. And Dana White's retort is quite clear. It's that you don't make us any money. We were thinking of carrying the division. So it's like, well, if you don't market the division, then you got to get the machine behind it. But the part of it is the crowd has to like you.
The crowd has to like you.
You have to be able to.
Or they kind of have to hate you too. Because look at DC after the last fight that he won, he was getting booed so much that people were like, "Oh, I'm tuning in for this next one." You know what I mean?
I always got this weird vibe with the UFC 200. How Brock Lesnar and John Jones both failed tests that were administered around the same time. They had the information before the event, but Brock Lesnar was able to fight, but John Jones was kicked off the card. And I'm like, does this come?
Is that WME? Is that Brock with WME?
No. So this is the sale was happening, and UFC 200 was kind of like before they finalized it. Then they finalized it after 200, so it wasn't official yet. Keeping that thing on the card, and Brock Lesnar is a stud. He's one of the top 3 earners in the company's history. Oh yeah, right up there with Ronda Rousey and Conor McGregor. I think he might be 2.
He might be 2. He might be number 2.
I think he's number 2. Then Ronda Rousey would be 3.
Yep.
So then you have John Jones, who, depending on who he's fighting, those cards do really well. But I don't know how well the DC and John Jones fights are selling. I don't really see them being advertised now. I know the Anaheim card is stacked. The Cyborg fight's going to be awesome.
The first fight had its advertisement with that sort of press conference, shit show that went down with John Anik falling all over the place, and all the shit falling all over the place, and them fighting and throwing shoes and everything. I think that sold it pretty good. But
I was thinking of the Powerade bottle. That was Connor again. Everything's Connor. Connor's doing
everything's Connor.
Anytime there's any drama, it's him.
And it is. He's the moneymaker. With this stuff with the UFC, it's funny. I find myself watching the UFC, and I really wish that there was, and I hope Bellator builds up to where it's like a Strikeforce, because I miss Strikeforce and UFC. I miss the trifecta of Strikeforce, UFC, and Dream, or Strikeforce, UFC, Pride, whatever time period you're in. I really like Dream better because they actually had some really good Grand Prix in the 145, 155, 185, 205 in the heavyweight. They were really good.
And the coolest part is they had Jose Canseco coming out with a baseball bat.
Yeah, and he fought. Yeah, he fought.
Dream 10 or something.
Fights. Man, bring it all on. New Year's Eve shows where it's going for 8 hours at Santama Arena. I used to watch those all on HD Net before it became Access TV. You know, Guy Metzger is actually a checkmat brown belt, and
I went with him to the UFC fight with Wanderlei Silva against Kung Lee.
That's right.
I went with Guy Metzger to that fight.
That's crazy.
It was insane.
That's so crazy. He's a nice guy, great dude. But I brought up the HDNet thing, and I was like, yeah, I used to watch HDNet, and then he was like, yeah, I don't watch it too much anymore. I was like, oh yeah, I forgot about that stuff that happened. I forgot about all that. But it's. What HDNet did in that time was really fun. I was training a lot of mixed martial arts with the pros during that time. That's when Strike Force was real big. I miss a lot of those events that happened. They had Joaquin Hansen, Eddie Alvarez, Shinya Aoki in this Grand Prix that they gave. I think it was $964,000. I think it was 10 million yen or 10. 10 million yen as a Grand Prix, like as a winning prize. It's a lot of money, dude. Like these guys were winning a good chunk of money over at Dream.
Oh yeah, at that point, everybody thought Eddie Alvarez was ready to be the next big star at 155, and he came over. It took him a little while, but he eventually got there. He got to the title picture. He got the belt. He became champion.
And then Connor.
And then Connor. Yeah, well, there's always Connor.
Yep.
Aoki, I thought he was going to translate, into a bigger star in the United States, but he had that fight with Gilbert Melendez, and that kind of just derailed him.
Just derailed him so hard, dude. I mean, and the guy with a good game plan. He wasn't scared of that guy's rubber guard. I mean, to see what that guy was doing in Dream, if you go back and watch those fights, dude, it was gnarly what he was doing. And it jiu-jitsu nerds back then, we didn't have the Meow Brothers back then. We didn't have all that stuff. What we had was Shinya Aoki.
We had Aoki with the cool spats.
With the cool spats. He's the one who brought that all. You know what I mean?
Blame him.
Yeah, blame him. Blame Aoki. You know what I mean?
The rainbow spats.
It's
I have
pre-Meow.
those.
Yeah.
I wear them. So everybody,
everybody started wearing scramble after that. Reversal.
Everybody that sees me, fucking my big ass wearing these rainbow spats, it's just all kinds of man bulging out. Like that's
sick.
You have to blame Aoki.
Blame Aoki.
I give zero fucks. It's funny to me.
I love it too. And we used to get, because I used to live with John Fitch, and he used to be sponsored by Reversal. He was the token white dude sponsored by Reversal back in 2003.
The pandas and shit.
Yeah, so he would get shit sent to him at the house, and he'd just throw me stuff. It'd be super big on me because it's Fitch size, but I would wear it anyways. And those brands were the cool brands because you didn't have to wear tap out. It'd be, people would really know you trained if you wore something like Scramble Reversal, as opposed to wearing some tap out stuff that was sold at JCPenney.
Yeah. Now it's owned by WWE or something, isn't it? Or they're co. I don't know. They
some crazy thing. They're probably making some good. They're probably making residuals like Drake makes on Degrassi. Punk ass whoever it is, still Skyscraper whoever it is.
Aren't those guys trying to fight each other? Drake and somebody else.
Something's going. No. It was
the guy that beat up Rihanna.
Chris Brown and Meek. Something was going on with that. But there was a bigger beef that happened. I've been watching Complex, the Complex thing, and I'm not too hip to that, guys. I'm not, but let me tell you something. That beef between Migos and Joe Budden, that shit was funny. Okay, the memes that came out of that was funny as hell. I think Joe Budden's dry as fuck, and I love it. And you know what? If you had to interview the Migos mumbling ass too, I would get frustrated. And you put a green guy out there to interview them. It was just hilarious. And just to see the beefs that are going on with rap nowadays, it's all catty. It's all just catty shit. You know what I mean? It ain't anything gangster anymore.
Man, I just watched Complex for the sneaker stuff. I saw Ric Flair on there going to some high-end sneaker store buying Jordans. It's so funny.
Yeah, dude. They have a good chance. I think Complex is really cool. They got their thing. They used to. I think it's for the people. I think people who catch on to it get a flavor of the old BET shows that we used to watch. I used to miss watching Headbangers Ball and having some dudes sit around and talk about Danzig albums for an hour. You know what I mean? It's just...
Well, it would be like the same guy. It would be like Matt Pinfield, but then you'd have Bill Bellamy show up sometimes and be like, wait a minute. He's like the chameleon on MTV. He could sit there and rap with any kind of group. It would
TRL, he would have been with the teens. He could have been over at, doing the stuff with the brothers. He could have, he would have been at Yodi to Your Raps. He's all over the place.
He had the chameleon thing going back in the day.
Yeah, no, I totally get that. that. No, I totally get that. McGregor Mayweather is going to take over any of this stuff that's leading up to it. I don't see anything else that's going to kind of be. It's such a big eclipse. You know what I mean?
Yeah, you have a couple decent sized events before the summer's over with. I mean, obviously the biggest one is, McGregor Mayweather. The tickets there, I've heard the sales or the ticket prices, the average prices kind of drop pretty substantially, like compared to most Mayweather fights, where the price would start at, in the thousands for some of these
thousands. Yeah.
Now I've got guys trying to, flip movie for $500.
That's pretty cool. I think maybe that's
I don't know, because everybody's saying, it's the biggest fight ever. It's the biggest fight in the world. It's MMA against boxing. But then people know the entertainment value of it is the stuff leading up to it, the tension that actually happened leading up to the fight. When they actually get in there, it's not going to be this technical boxing match.
Oh, you know what I can't wait for? Those Showtime shows about them fucking training. I cannot.
Well,
my favorite
we're 6
thing.
weeks out, man.
Yeah.
When are they going to do those?
They're probably going to do those. They're probably going to. You know what? They're probably going to release them like an embedded almost. They're probably going to do that. And I think there's some conjunction with embedded and that, where we're going to see embedded. Then we're going to see a huge countdown show, and maybe there's going to be a week before breakdown. I remember how they used to do it, because I used to be at AK during the pro fight trainings. How they used to do it was they'd film it like a week before, and then they'd almost show it like it was them leaving that week. And then later on, they actually started filming them leaving that week because they could edit it quicker and things like that. I think maybe it was just a different production style.
Well, they may. I mean, I imagine Connor's living in Vegas right now.
He said he's been in Vegas since they announced the fight, or since then. He said because Mayweather was like, I was in Dublin looking for you, and they said you were scared. He was like, bitch, I've been in Vegas since for like 3 months now, just getting acclimated to that dry air. So, so I think,
By the way, training there or doing anything there is way different. Your gas tank, you got to get used to it.
It's extremely, it's not extreme elevation. It's the dryness. When you go to Utah and you start creeping up on elevation and the dryness, it's amazing. It's amazing how 32 degrees feels in the winter when you're high up in the elevation and you're in a desert area and there's still snow on the ground. It's really a weird feeling how you're like, it's still fucking dry in the air in some really weird way. There's snow on the ground.
It's that dry cold that like hurts when the wind hits your chest. It hurts. It's like, what is that? Yeah. It's different than the wet cold. It's weird.
Yeah. Yeah.
I've been training out of Las Vegas just probably almost as much as I've been training here lately. Just kind of back and forth.
Taking a switch to Drysdales.
I don't know that I'll. No, like I'm.
By the way, I forgot how close you were to AK Sunnyvale right here. That is so legit, dude. You could walk there.
I do.
That's so perfect, dude.
No,
I really didn't. I really forgot, because the last time I was here, I was kind of like coming from a different way. So it's right there, dude. And then the 24. I mean, that's like.
Oh well, that 24. You don't go there.
Yeah, it's like shitty.
Well, it's not clean.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Otherwise, but my comic book shop is right there. They're Comics Conspiracy. I've been on their show a number of times. Awesome shop.
Dude, I'm gonna walk in there after this.
They're moving next month over to El Camino Real, right by that Nothing But Cakes.
Oh yeah.
So I'm gonna get fatter. It's cool. Pretty stoked about that.
I'm on a diet right now because literally yesterday I killed an entire thing of the vegan crumb donuts from Whole Foods, because I've been on this like school thing where it's like, I'm not training as much jiu-jitsu. I'm really plugging forward in school and just taking my time with that. So like after 5 hours of photography class and lab, I'm like sitting at my house just like shoving my face full
They're
of
good though,
donuts.
right?
So damn good, dude.
Yeah,
I love it.
I wouldn't have thought the vegan donuts from Whole Foods are good. Mike Prudencio, my instructor,
love that guy.
Yeah,
love that guy.
Yeah, he keeps talking about vegan donuts, and like the guy who hit the move of the day. He's like, okay, you hit the move of the day, you get a vegan donut. You're like, what are you talking about, vegan donut?
Dude,
like, dude, trust me, it's good.
I'm gonna come by, since I know you're so close, and we have to coordinate when he's here or something like that, or like when you go to the open mat.
He's there 10:30.
Oh, that's perfect, dude. Then I'm definitely going to come by with some donuts, and we'll say what's up. You know what I mean?
Excellent. Well, man, I know you got to go. I got a meeting to hit. So, check Aaron Ryan out, Nerd Kwando podcast.
Yeah, I've actually I've changed some stuff up, guys. So really quickly before I get out of here, the last time I was here, I was announcing some stuff. So I had to kill Nerd Kwando, but then I brought it back. It's back. So Nerd Kwando podcast is back. Find it on Nerd Kwando on YouTube. There's 2 videos up: a Spiderman quick reaction that's spoiler free, and a spoiler reaction plus news that came out from D23, and looking forward to Comic-Con. Everything this week that's going to come up is going to be reactions to Justice League trailers and all that. The next thing is I have something called the Aaron Ryan podcast, which is with me, of course. And that is just like this. It's an interview about just everything. And I'm going to try to have Clint on there, of course. I'm sure he's going to come by on there. So you guys check it out. It's really easy. Aaron Ryan Podcast. You can find all those on Instagram and Facebook. Nerd Kwando, Aaron Ryan Podcast. Check it out. And Clint, always thanks a lot, man, for having me on here, because part of having me on here has built me along my process. And, you know, you're a great dude, fellow black belts, help each other out, you know, black belt comic book nerds.
Team black belt.
Yeah, exactly, baby.
All right. Thanks again. And by the way, shout out to my guys over at Kicks Inc. They're down in San Jose. So if you need Jordans, Yeezys, any budget, if you need your kicks for the summer, whatever, hit those guys up. They're right there over by Stevens Creek by Valley Fair Mall. So Kicks with a Z Inc. So check those guys out. Shout out to them. And otherwise, I'll be on Kyle Kingsbury's podcast. He's through
sick. Yeah.
Yeah. Look that up. It just dropped.
I'll listen to that. I'm gonna try to get Kyle on mine. I've been talking to him a little bit about that, so hopefully we can exchange. That'd be great, dude.
We're like the opposite now. Like he's based out of Vegas and sort of like floating around right now. He's out in LA, I think, this week.
Him and Neo and all them are out there. They're all training under one kick, and you know all that crew out there. I think it's really cool.
He hit up Drysdale too, man. It's good because like we're like, you know, not the smallest people, and having somebody that's like that much bigger and with that the ADCC world championness thing, it's insane,
dude. He's doing BJJ. He's doing a lot of technical stuff. Robert Drysdale's a very technical guy, guys. So
dude can wrestle too.
Yeah.
So shout out to Robert Drysdale as well thanks for coming on the show and for kicking my ass last week. All right. Anyway, thanks guys. Have a great week. Stay positive. Be nice to each other. Go train. That's all.